Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, Fortune. Well, you're about to find out. Today we're talking about one of the most fascinating coins ever produced by the United States Mint, the Jefferson Nickel 5 cents from 1987. At first glance, it looks like any other ordinary coin that might pass through your hands every day, but behind that simple design lies an incredible story of history, craftsmanship, and rare minting errors that have made some of these nickels worth a shocking amount of money. If you've ever wanted to uncover hidden treasures in your loose change, this is one coin you should definitely pay attention to, because the 1987 Jefferson Nickel might just surprise you in ways you never expected. Let's step back for a moment and dive into the background of this coin. The Jefferson Nickel has been an American classic since 1938 when it replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin honors the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, whose face proudly graces the obverse side of the nickel. Behind his portrait stands his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse, a stunning neoclassical mansion located in Virginia, a symbol of Jefferson's intellect and his role in shaping the early foundation of the nation. By 1987, the design had already been in circulation for nearly half a century, yet it remained one of the most widely recognized and respected coins in the country. The year 1987 itself was an interesting one in U.S. coinage history. The economy was stable, the mint was producing millions of coins every year, and the Jefferson Nickel continued to circulate heavily across the country. The mint struck these nickels in two main locations: Philadelphia, which carries no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a small d just to the right of Jefferson's portrait. But while billions were produced, not all nickels are created equal. Within the massive mintage numbers, some rare varieties, striking errors, and unusual die characteristics have transformed a few of these 1987 nickels into valuable collector's items. One reason the 1987 Jefferson Nickel is so fascinating to collectors is that even small differences in design or minting can have a huge impact on value. Sometimes, coins were struck with misaligned dies, resulting in slightly off-center images, missing letters, or distorted edges. Others were struck on the wrong metal planchets, blank discs meant for other coins, which can make them stand out instantly when weighed or examined closely. There are even examples of 1987 nickels that exhibit doubled images on Jefferson's face or lettering, known as double die errors. These kinds of rare mistakes are like hidden treasures, and collectors are willing to pay high prices to own them. The composition of the 1987 Jefferson Nickel is the same as most modern nickels, a blend of 75% copper and 25% nickel. However, what truly makes a coin valuable isn't just what it's made of, but how it was made and how well it has survived the test of time. Most of these coins circulated for decades, passing through countless hands, vending machines, and cash registers. Over time, their surfaces wore down, and details like Jefferson's hair, the steps on Monticello, and the fine lettering on both sides began to fade. That's why finding a 1987 nickel in brilliant uncirculated condition is so special. A coin that has never been used, showing full luster, sharp details, and no visible scratches, can be worth far more than one that's been in circulation. Collectors and numismatists often rely on professional grading services like PCGS or NGC to evaluate a coin's quality. Coins graded at high levels, such as MS65, MS67, or even higher, can fetch astonishing prices. The difference between a circulated nickel worth 5 cents and an uncirculated one worth thousands lies entirely in its preservation and rarity. Imagine discovering a flawless 1987 nickel with a mirror-like shine, crisp lines, and a strong strike that could easily turn a pocket change find into a collector's dream. There's another fascinating detail about the 1987 Jefferson Nickel that adds to its allure: transitional die features and minting inconsistencies between different batches. During this period, the U.S. Mint was constantly refining its dies, and in some cases, slight changes in the die design or wear patterns created minor variations that can now be distinguished by experts. Some 1,987 nickels show differences in the details of Jefferson's portrait or the steps of Monticello that make them unique among the millions of ordinary examples. These subtle variations can transform what appears to be a common coin into something far rarer. Let's also talk about the thrill of the hunt. Many coin collectors started their journey with coins just like this, everyday nickels found in circulation that turned out to be special. The Jefferson Nickel series is one of the most popular sets for collectors to complete because it spans decades, offers countless varieties, and can still yield exciting discoveries from pocket change. Checking the dates, mint marks, and conditions of nickels is more than just a hobby. It's like a modern-day treasure hunt, where history, art, and mystery come together in the palm of your hand. Now, if you happen to come across a 1987 Jefferson Nickel that seems a little different, maybe it has an unusual shine, an error mark, or a missing detail, don't ignore it. Hold on to it, protect it, and maybe even get it professionally evaluated. Many rare coins have been discovered completely by accident, sitting unnoticed in coin jars or collections passed down from family members. The key is knowing what to look for and understanding that even a common coin can have extraordinary value when the right conditions are met. Imagine finding a 1987 nickel that has never been touched, perfectly struck, with every detail of Jefferson's profile crisp and every step of Monticello visible under a magnifying glass. That coin wouldn't just be beautiful, it could be incredibly valuable. And that's what makes the world of coin collecting so magical. Every coin tells a story, and every story might just lead to treasure. So, before you spend your next nickel, take a closer look. It might seem small, simple, and ordinary, but you never know what surprises are hiding in plain sight. Some of these nickels from 1987, especially those with rare errors or perfect mint state grades, have sold for astonishing amounts that most people would never imagine for a 5-cent coin. And yes, you heard that right, one rare 1987 Jefferson Nickel 5-cent coin in exceptional condition with remarkable mint quality and rarity has been valued at an incredible $92,000 in words. Today, we're diving deep into the story of one such hidden treasure, the United States of America Jefferson Nickel 5 cents from 1971. It may look like just another ordinary nickel that's been circulating for decades, but for coin collectors and treasure hunters, this particular year holds more surprises than you might imagine. Hidden among the billions of nickels struck that year are rare versions that could make anyone stop and stare, coins so unique, so well preserved, or so beautifully flawed that they've reached unbelievable prices at auction. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why one of these small 5-cent coins sold for a price that will leave you speechless. The Jefferson Nickel, as most of you know, has been a beloved part of American coinage since 1938. It replaced the famous Buffalo nickel and brought a fresh design created by sculptor Felix Schlag. His artistic vision gave us the now iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse side of the coin. Behind his noble image, on the reverse side, stands Monticello, Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. The symmetry of that design, the careful engraving, and the classical beauty of both sides made it one of the most enduring designs in U.S. coin history. And while the look of the coin stayed consistent for decades, every year of production brought small differences, tiny minting quirks and unexpected errors that would one day turn a few lucky nickels into rare collectors' dreams. In 1971, the United States Mint was operating at full capacity. The country's economy was growing, and millions of coins were being produced each day. The Jefferson Nickel was struck at multiple mints: Philadelphia, which bore no mint mark, and Denver, whose coins carried a small D mint mark just to the right of Jefferson's portrait. San Francisco also produced some proof coins that year, primarily for collectors, and those coins often have a distinctive shine that sets them apart from their circulation counterparts. But not every 1971 nickel came out of the mint looking the same. Among the countless ordinary nickels were some that carried unusual traits: misstrikes, die cracks, double dies, off-center strikes, and even transitional planchet errors that happened when leftover blanks from other years were mistakenly used. What makes the 1971 Jefferson Nickel particularly fascinating is the variety of minting inconsistencies that occurred during this era. The dies used by the mint were often overworked, leading to slight design distortions, worn lettering, and doubling effects. For example, some 1971 nickels display doubling on Jefferson's I or the word Liberty, which can be spotted under magnification. There are also examples where the reverse side shows weak or missing details on Monticello's steps, a sign that the die was either clogged or unevenly struck. In coin collecting, these minor imperfections often become major treasures because they're unintentional and incredibly rare, but beyond errors, the real secret to value lies in condition. Most 1971 nickels were used in daily commerce, jingling in pockets, sliding across cash registers, clinking in vending machines, and enduring decades of wear and tear. As a result, finding one in near-perfect condition is extremely difficult. Over time, the high points of the design, such as Jefferson's cheekbone, hair curls, and the details on Monticello's dome, are often the first to fade. Only a small fraction of the 1971 nickels have survived in pristine, uncirculated, mint-state condition with their original shine and luster still intact. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts race, the ones that have been carefully preserved, protected from the elements, and kept just as they left the mint over 50 years ago. Now, let's talk about the physical beauty of this coin. The 1971 Jefferson nickel is made of a copper-nickel composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it that characteristic silvery sheen. When freshly minted, the coin reflects light in a captivating way, with Jefferson's portrait standing out against a satin-like background. His thoughtful expression, the bold lettering of "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," and the sharply defined edges all contribute to a piece of design that's both simple and elegant. Flip it over, and you'll see the stately Monticello building, framed by the inscriptions, E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, and the denomination, 5 cents. Every element of this coin connects to the country's history, artistry, and values, but while the design is timeless, it's the extraordinary mint errors and immaculate condition examples that make certain 1971 nickels worth far more than 5 cents. There have been documented cases of nickels from this year that were struck on the wrong metal, for instance, on leftover silver or copper planchets that weren't supposed to be used. These mistakes create coins with slightly different weights and colors, which make them instantly noticeable to a trained eye. Other rare variants include proof coins with cameo finishes, struck at the San Francisco Mint, that exhibit deep mirrors and frosted designs. These coins, when graded highly, can fetch serious money. Collectors also pay close attention to the strike quality. A full, strong strike, where all 6 steps of Monticello are clearly visible, is a sign of precision minting and often commands a premium in the marketplace. Coins with what collectors call full steps or FS designation are much rarer and therefore much more valuable than typical examples. This small detail can make the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth thousands. The demand for Jefferson nickels has steadily grown over the years, especially for coins from the 1970s, a decade that saw interesting changes in U.S. coin production. Collectors love the challenge of finding flawless coins from this period because they are notoriously difficult to locate in perfect condition. Many of these nickels were made for circulation, not for collecting, which means they were never handled with care or preserved intentionally. Finding one that looks like it just left the mint is like uncovering buried treasure. Imagine you're going through an old coin jar or a forgotten box from your parents' or grandparents' collection, and you spot a shiny 1971 Jefferson nickel that looks unusually perfect. Maybe the details pop under the light, or perhaps it just feels different when you hold it. That moment of realization, that you might be holding a rare piece of American history, is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Each coin has a story, and some stories end with unbelievable surprises. Over the years, rare 1971 nickels have shown up at auctions, often stunning collectors with the prices they achieve. Some are rare error coins, others are pristine examples with exceptional luster and flawless detail. Whatever the reason, they've proven that even a 5-cent coin can carry enormous value when rarity, condition, and demand come together perfectly. And here's the part you've been waiting for: one extraordinary 1971 Jefferson nickel 5 cents coin, with exceptional mint condition, brilliant strike detail, and unparalleled rarity, has been valued at an astonishing $98,000 in words. Today, treasures waiting to be found. One such coin that continues to surprise collectors and enthusiasts is the United States of America Jefferson Nickel 5 cents 1964 mint mark. While most of these nickels are still worth face value, some rare varieties and minting errors have transformed this simple 5-cent piece into a highly valuable collectible worth a fortune. The story of the 1964 Jefferson nickel is tied deeply to one of the most fascinating periods in U.S. coinage history. The early 1960s were years of transition. The U.S. Mint was facing a national coin shortage, and the demand for nickels, dimes, and quarters was at an all-time high. Because of this, the Mint produced an enormous number of Jefferson Nickels in 1964, over 2.8 billion in total, including both the Philadelphia and Denver Mint marks. But here's the twist: in this massive production rush, certain coins came out with striking errors and unique characteristics that today make them worth thousands of dollars to lucky collectors who happen to spot them. When you pick up a 1964 Jefferson nickel, take a moment to look carefully at the details. On the obverse side, you'll find the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, designed by Felix Schlag. His dignified profile faces left, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," curving around the top, followed by the year 1964. Below the year, if you see a tiny D mint mark, that means your coin was minted in Denver. No mint mark indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but what really makes this coin fascinating to collectors are the rare varieties that slipped through the presses unnoticed. Among them, one of the most sought after is the 1964 full steps variety. The full steps refers to the detail found on the reverse side of the coin, the Monticello, Jefferson's home. If the steps of Monticello are sharply struck and clearly visible, showing all 6 steps in perfect detail without wear or flattening, that coin becomes something truly special. Only a tiny fraction of the 1964 nickels have this level of precision, especially due to worn dies and overuse during minting. A perfect full steps nickel can be worth hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on its condition and luster. Now let's talk about minting errors, the kind that make collectors' hearts race. Some 1964 nickels were struck on the wrong metal planchets, for example, leftover silver or copper nickel blanks intended for other denominations. Others display double dies, where certain parts of the coin design appear slightly doubled, most often in the words, "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." These doubling errors can significantly increase a coin's value, depending on how visible and well-preserved they are. There are also rare off-center strikes, die cracks, and even examples of coins with missing elements, which add to the thrill of the hunt. Condition is another major factor. A heavily circulated coin might only fetch a few cents over face value, but an uncirculated or proof-like coin, with its bright, mirror-like surface and sharp details, can make a dramatic difference. Collectors use a grading system from good to mint state to determine value. The closer your 1964 Jefferson nickel is to a flawless mint state 65 or higher, the more valuable it becomes. Another exciting twist comes from the 1964 specimen nickels that were struck with extraordinary precision at the Philadelphia Mint. These are believed to have been specially made, possibly for testing or presentation purposes. Unlike regular circulation coins, these show a satin or semi-proof-like finish, and only a few are known to exist. When one of these rare specimen strikes appears at auction, collectors compete fiercely to own it, and the final sale prices can be jaw-dropping. Even though the 1964 Jefferson nickel is made of a simple copper-nickel alloy, its historical context adds an incredible layer of depth. This was the final year that the mint date was used before the United States temporarily froze coin dates between 1965 and 1967 to combat coin hoarding. As a result, the 1964 dated nickels were struck for 2 years, making it a key transitional piece in American coinage history. Imagine holding a coin that's been through decades of change, from the space race era to modern America, yet still carries the legacy of Jefferson's vision and the craftsmanship of mid-century minting. Most people might overlook it, thinking it's just another old nickel, but coin enthusiasts know that among those countless millions, one special piece could be worth a life-changing sum. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking nickels from 1990 could actually be worth a small fortune? That's right, the United States of America Jefferson Nickel 5 cents 1990 mint mark might just be hiding one of the most surprising treasures in modern coin collecting. Though most people pass them around every day without a second thought, coin collectors and experts know that some 1990 Jefferson Nickels contain rare features, errors, and minting details that transform them from pocket change into serious collector's gold. To understand why the 1990 Jefferson Nickel is so fascinating, let's step back and take a quick look at its design and background. The Jefferson Nickel series began in 1938, replacing the famous Buffalo nickel, and it was designed by Felix Schlag. His design has stood the test of time, showing Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the front of the coin, and his elegant home, Monticello, on the back. By the time the 1990 version was struck, the Jefferson Nickel had already become a beloved classic, symbolizing the stability and enduring legacy of American coinage. But within that year's production, something remarkable happened. Small variations and minting errors began to appear, and those are exactly the kinds of details collectors live for. The 1990 Jefferson Nickel was minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the P or D mint mark located to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Though hundreds of millions of nickels were struck that year, only a handful have become rare treasures due to specific minting mistakes, condition, and unique characteristics. These differences are what set valuable coins apart from ordinary ones. Let's talk about what makes these nickels so special. One of the biggest factors is condition. Coins that remain in pristine, uncirculated condition, known as mint state or MS coins, can bring significant premiums at auction. For example, a 1990 Jefferson Nickel with perfect luster, no scratches, and sharp details can be worth far more than its face value. If you happen to find one with full and crisp details on Monticello's steps, known as the full steps of variety, then you may be looking at a valuable coin indeed. These full steps nickels are highly prized by collectors because the majority of coins from that year were struck with dies that wore down quickly, causing the steps to appear flat or incomplete. A 1990 Jefferson Nickel that clearly shows all 6 steps of Monticello without wear or blurring is something truly special, but that's just the beginning. Mint errors from 1990 have been discovered that turn this 5-cent coin into a small masterpiece of rarity. Some nickels from that year have been found with double die obverse errors, where parts of the lettering, like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, 1990, appear slightly doubled. This happens when the coin die shifts during the striking process, creating a fascinating and collectible visual effect. Another rare find is the off-center strike, where the design is not perfectly centered on the coin. Depending on how far off the strike is, these can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Then there are planchet errors, coins struck on the wrong metal blanks or incomplete blanks that result in missing edges or uneven thickness. A few 1990 nickels have been found with such planchet anomalies, which make them even more valuable because of their rarity. Other examples include die cracks, where small raised lines appear across the surface due to cracks in the minting die, and those coins are often considered unique pieces of minting history. Collectors also look closely at proof coins from this year. Proof nickels are specially made for collectors with a mirror-like finish and sharp details, and they were struck at the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark. While most proofs from 1990 are not rare, a few have exceptional quality or display unusual toning, the natural coloration that forms on the coin over time, which can boost their value dramatically. What makes this all even more intriguing is how these small coins carry such a large story. The 1990 Jefferson Nickel represents a time of transition in American minting. The U.S. Mint was refining its production processes, improving metal quality, and experimenting with die maintenance techniques. Each of these factors contributed to subtle variations that now fascinate collectors decades later. For coin hunters and enthusiasts, it's like finding a hidden chapter in history that most people have completely overlooked. If you happen to come across a Jefferson Nickel from 1990, take a moment to inspect it carefully. Look for that mint mark. Is it P, D, or possibly even missing? Check the Monticello steps on the reverse for clarity and count how many steps are visible. Examine the lettering under magnification to see if there's any doubling or unusual texture. Even slight variations can make a massive difference in value. Now imagine this: a small 5-cent coin that might have been sitting in someone's coin jar, purse, or drawer for years without anyone realizing its potential. Then one day, a collector or sharp-eyed coin enthusiast notices the rare features, sends it for grading, and discovers it's a high-grade, full-step, or error specimen. Suddenly, that ordinary nickel becomes an extraordinary treasure. Coin auctions across the country have witnessed surprising results where seemingly common Jefferson nickels fetched incredible prices due to their rarity, condition, and historical importance. It's the perfect example of why collectors say, check your change. The next valuable find might be sitting right in front of you. Today, we're uncovering one such treasure, the United States of America Jefferson Nickel 5 cents from 1973. On the surface, it may seem like an ordinary nickel, just another piece of everyday currency, but for collectors and coin enthusiasts, this particular year holds an extraordinary fascination. Rare varieties, minting anomalies, and pristine examples have transformed some of these nickels into highly sought-after collectibles. If you've ever dreamed of finding a hidden gem in your change, the 1973 Jefferson Nickel could be exactly what you're looking for. Let's start with the design and history. The Jefferson Nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design exudes simplicity and elegance, combining artistry with a lasting tribute to American history. By 1973, the Jefferson Nickel had firmly established itself as a recognizable and beloved coin, circulating widely across the country. However, even after decades of production, minting errors and unique variations continued to emerge, giving certain coins from this year remarkable value. The 1973 Jefferson Nickel was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia mint coins carry no mint mark, while the Denver mint coins bear a small D to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Millions of these nickels were produced, but despite the large mintage, certain specimens have become extraordinarily rare. Collectors are particularly interested in coins with minting errors, exceptional strikes, or those that have survived in near-perfect condition over the decades. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining a coin's value. The majority of 1973 nickels were used in everyday transactions, in cash registers, vending machines, and pocket change. Over time, the details of Jefferson's profile and Monticello's steps would often wear down, diminishing the coin's collectability. However, coins that remain in uncirculated condition, showing full luster, sharp detail, and no noticeable scratches or contact marks, are exceedingly rare. These coins are often graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, and those with the highest grades can fetch premium prices. Another reason the 1973 Jefferson Nickel is so interesting is the variety of minting errors that exist. Some of the most sought after include double die errors, where lettering such as "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date appears slightly doubled due to a shift in the die during striking. Off-center strikes, where the coin's design is not perfectly aligned, are also highly prized among collectors. There are even planchet errors, where coins were struck on incorrect or incomplete metal blanks, resulting in unusual thickness or missing edges. These errors are considered one of a kind, and they dramatically increase a coin's value. Collectors also look for what are known as full steps coins, nickels where all 6 steps of Monticello on the reverse are fully visible and sharply defined. Because dies wear down quickly during production, most coins from 1973 do not display this level of detail. A full steps 1973 Jefferson Nickel is rare and highly sought after, particularly when combined with high-grade uncirculated condition. Even slight imperfections, like a faint doubling of the lettering or subtle die cracks, can make a coin extremely desirable for collectors. The appeal of the 1973 Jefferson Nickel goes beyond just errors or condition. This coin also represents a moment in U.S. history when coin collecting was gaining popularity, and people were beginning to recognize that even small denominations could have tremendous value if preserved correctly. The Jefferson Nickel has always been an accessible coin for collectors, spanning decades of production, but coins from the early 1970s, especially rare varieties, have proven time and again to be some of the most rewarding finds. imagine discovering a 1973 Jefferson nickel in an old coin collection, a jar of change, or even tucked away in a wallet that hasn't been touched in decades. You take a closer look and notice that the Monticello steps are perfectly struck, the lettering is sharp, and the surface gleams with uncirculated brilliance. That moment, realizing that an ordinary-looking 5-cent coin could be extremely rare, is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. These coins carry history in their design, artistry in their details, and potential wealth in their rarity. Over the years, 1973 Jefferson Nickels in exceptional condition and with unique minting characteristics have surfaced at auctions and in private sales, surprising collectors with the sums they command. Some have doubled, even tripled in value compared to other coins from the same year. The combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand makes this series an intriguing treasure hunt for anyone passionate about coins. So next time you stumble across a 1973 Jefferson nickel, don't take it for granted. Examine it carefully, check the mint mark, look for full steps on Monticello, inspect for doubling or other minting anomalies, and consider its overall condition. What might appear as just an ordinary nickel could very well be a rare collectible hiding in plain sight, and here's the most astonishing part. One rare 1973 Jefferson nickel 5-cent coin, preserved in pristine condition with remarkable strike quality and rarity, has been valued at an incredible $89,000. In words, that small, unassuming coin in your hand could be more than just change. It could be a piece of history and a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered.